What's up guys, Gold Rush here. Today I'm going to be covering a couple basic things in a somewhat new program called Script Factory. For those of you who don't know, Script Factory is a somewhat new scripting software that people can use with little to no Java knowledge. In today's guide, we're going to be going over a couple different things. What the different buttons do, where the scripts are loaded from. We're going to be watching my script running and fixing any issues with my script, explaining methods, and giving you guys a complete breakdown of my script. So first, let's start off by going over some useful buttons. Okay, the first button I'd like to go over is the script repository. Script repository is a collection of community scripts that have been approved by administrator or moderator to be added here. For the most part, all these scripts run pretty flawlessly. They do have some issues, but once you have a little Java, a little scripting knowledge, you'll be able to fix these with no issues. To add one, all you gotta do is click on it, click add. It'll prompt you that it's been added, then open it here and load the script once selected. Another useful buttons to know, which you'll find pretty fast: start the script, stop the script, edit script information. This will edit the general script information, such as your script name, who the author is, the version of the script, the description of exactly what the script does. Now let's get into some of the basic buttons on the program and how to use them. So as you see, every single option has if statements and regular statements, such as interact statements. If statements, for the most part, are checks. Interact statements, or just about any other statement that you see in here, are actions. As you can see down in my script below, the yellow things are checks and the green lines are actions. Now, you should always see more yellow in a script than you do green. If you see more green in a script than you do yellow, odds are 9 times out of 10, your script is going to be pretty buggy. You want to try and maximize the amount of checks that you have in between every action, because doing this will allow your scripts to become a lot shorter and be a lot better. As you can see on screen, I just got from 14 to 15 woodcutting. Now, I told my script once I got to 15 woodcutting to start chopping oak logs. So, that is awesome. That works great. Now let's get into a little bit more about what methods are and how to use them. Methods are the process that your script will loop through before it loops back. So your script will start at 0, and if any check in this set of actions fail, or if any check in this set of methods fails from here to here, it will skip this method altogether and move to method 1. If any of these fail, it will do the same and move to method 2. And so on and so forth. Generally, you don't want to move to the next method until you've performed an action in the method prior. So as you can see, I have 3 checks in action, and then the method changes to 1. Now, in some instances, you may have 3 checks in action, 2 more checks in action in the same method. Those will be explained in a later guide. When making a script, make sure to always check your methods, as the script will always recommend, and for the most part it will nail on the money, what the next method in the script needs to be, but sometimes it will mess it up and it will throw it out of whack, causing your script to not operate properly. A little bit another know-how as far as methods go. Sometimes Script Factory does bug out whenever you're loading a script that it does not have, that you've just added into Script Factory into the program. Sometimes it will mess the methods up in the script itself, and you will have to straighten them out. I'm sure that will be fixed later, but it is very rare that it does happen. But if it does, just bear with it. Correct your methods. It should correct themselves, or you should be able to correct them fairly quickly. Now I'm going to explain a little bit as how my script works and what exactly my script is doing. So from the beginning, the first process that I do, as I may have mentioned earlier in the video, I like to fully automate my scripts. So I try and think of what my script is going to be doing from the moment it logs in Lumbridge as a level 3. So right now, my script, as soon as it logs in, it checks for the inventory to be full, and if the inventory is not full, it skips that method and goes to the OR statement. Once it goes to the OR statement, it checks to see if my inventory contains an item with the partial name or the full name, Bronze Axe. Since your inventory will contain this item, because you are a new account, my player is set to walk to the Varrock West Bank. Once my player is in Varrock West Bank, and my inventory contains a Bronze Axe, which is ID 1351. If some of you are wondering why I have it set as an ID and not as a partial text, sometimes the script has trouble identifying items via text, so I tend to go with the item ID instead. So if my inventory contains 1351, it wields the weapon, which is a Bronze Axe, as I stated before. Then, if my player is within the area of Varrock West Bank and my inventory is full, or if my player is within the area and my inventory is not full, it will open the bank. If the bank is open, I'm going to deposit all. If some of you are wondering why I added the OR statement, it's just something simple that you can do to make a method check twice before it skips over that method. So in this example, I added this because I have my level 3 walking up to the bank with almost a full inventory of items. If I would have just added the if my player's within area, and if my inventory is full, it would have skipped that method and not opened the bank at all. But since I added the OR statement for if my inventory is not full, only if obviously it's walking up from Lumbridge, then it would trigger it to open the bank that way. Once the bank is open, I will deposit all no matter what. If the bank is open and if my inventory is closed, or if my inventory is empty, the script will close the bank. If my player is within Varrock West Bank and my inventory is empty and my bank is closed, it will walk to the tree chopping area. Now, once my player is within the tree chopping area, it will check to see if my player is wielding a Bronze Axe. If my woodcutting level is less than 15, it would be cutting regular logs right now. If the RS2 object is within the area, 1276, as I stated before, I tend to use object and item IDs because areas tend to bug when using names for some reason. I don't know why. And then I added a simple if my player is not animating check to click the tree. Now, the reason why I added the not animating check is if I wouldn't have added it, it would have kept clicking the tree every time it looped back through the process. Because as I stated before, this program simply just loops over and over and over again until it gets to a successful process or a successful method. And then it runs through the checks in that method to see if all of the checks can be done successfully. If they're done successfully, it will then perform that action and begin looping back through again or until it gets to another successful method. So, my player is not animating, makes it to where it won't keep clicking the tree every single time it loops back, because after the first time it clicks it, it will realize my player is animating, so it will skip this method. It will skip the action in this method and go to number 7, essentially. Now, the next method here is if my player is within the chopping area and I'm wielding a Bronze Axe and my woodcutting level is greater than or equal to 15 and the object is within the area oak log or oak tree and my player is not animating, interact with the object. Now, this is something that I added later on in the script whenever I began to test this, just because for good practice you always want to add things like this, and I tend to watch my scripts for 1 to 2 hours after I make them, so that way I can see little bugs that happen. And sometimes you'll notice WebWalk is pretty fucked, and it will walk you out of your script area that you make for no reason whatsoever, by just choosing a stupid path to take or something like that, and then your bot won't detect that you're out of that area because you don't have the proper checks in place for if your character falls out of your area while you're chopping. So I tend to add extra checks in later methods for if my player is not within the chopping area and my inventory is not full, to walk to the bank. Now, this is not going to interfere with any of the prior methods because it's an in-game method, or end method. As you can see, it's method 8, so if anywhere in here is a success and it performs any of these actions, it's not going to get down to here. So this is just a last play, or more like a last resort for if my bot walks out of the area, then it's going to walk itself back into the area and continue chopping until my inventory is full. Now I'm going to be going over a couple useful buttons for you players that is going to be kind of hard to understand, but most of these buttons, for the most part, are broken down very well on the forums, on the text guide. Get skill level. This is something that you'll use to get a skill level like you see me getting. I'm getting the skill level. If it's less, or if it's greater than or equal to 15, then I would be chopping oak logs. If it's less than 15, I would be chopping regular logs. Variables, there's a lot of useful variables that you can add. Booleans is something we'll cover in a later video, but these are very, very useful. User inputs, this is something you want to add if you're making a script to where, say, you're making a mining script, but you want to make it mine anywhere you want it to mine when you feel like mining it. You can add a user input to switch out the ore that the script is telling it to mine. As long as you have it set to a name and not an item ID, you'll be able to swap it out with something else. When the script starts, it will prompt you to replace what is currently in the script with whatever whatever you want to replace it with. Say it be an ore or a tree or something like that. Timers are very good for doing things for obvious reasons. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory. Trade, this is trading other players. Keyboard, one cool thing about keyboard that a lot of people get confused about, if you can't figure out, like say you're trying to do a quest and you want the bot to push 3, you would just hit the key code and then you would press 3 and then hit OK, and it would tell your bot to push 3. Another very, very useful tool, this is something I use quite frequently whenever I'm making advanced bots, sleeps. Sleeps and camera movements are one thing that is very, very useful if you're trying to get your account a long way down the road without getting banned. And if you want to get even more advanced with keeping your account going for a long time, you could create a break handler to make your account take breaks for a certain amount of times, every certain amount of hours or minutes or milliseconds, however you want to do it. Walk, this is walking to areas. You can walk to positions, which would be in a precise position on the map. Walk to an area. If you're walking to a bank stall and you need a precise position, I would use position. Most of the time, I tend to use area. Unfortunately, with WebWalk, it kind of fucks you using area sometimes, as I stated before. So if you ever have checks in place for, walking to a bank, and if your player is within that area, make sure you always add a check for if your player's not within that area to walk back to that area. So that way it fixes the issue. Equipment, this is just your equipment. Inventory is your inventory. Bank, stuff related to your bank. Player, this is related to other players. Ground item, this is items on the ground such as ashes, bones, stuff like that. Objects, this is trees, stairs, stuff of that nature. NPC, this is any NPC in the game, such as a banker, something you attack, something that I wouldn't say something that attacks you, but yeah, something you attack, a bank, or anything you interact with besides a player. My player, this is your player specifically, so for the most part, if you're wanting your player specifically to do something, or if you're wanting it to check for your player to be specifically doing something, or if its HP is too low, or if it's under attack, this would be your go-to. Okay guys, that about wraps it up for today's guide. If there is anything that you would like to see included in the next guide, as I stated, the next guide will be a way more advanced guide. I will be breaking down each individual option specifically with a description on exactly what it does. This is just a general guide to get players through the program and show them a little bit around what the program does and how to build a basic script and how they can view other scripts and just general basic knowledge. Something that I was looking for whenever I first became a Script Factory user that I could not find. As always, have a great day guys, and I hope to see you in the next video.